now we're going to analyze our cast diagram. So let's draw it here. We have 0 degrees, 90 degrees here, 180 degrees, we have 270 degrees here, and 360 degrees. So let's say now we have an angle here of theta, and we want to identify a trig ratio with respect to this angle here of theta. We know that the opposite of this angle will be y, because this line here is parallel to the y-axis, and this one here at the bottom will be x. So if we are going to identify an angle with respect to this theta, or a trig ratio with respect to this theta, we can say sine of theta is equals to y over r. Remember that your hypotenuse here is r, so it's going to be y over r. And then your cos theta is going to be adjacent, right? So it's x over r. And then your tan of theta is going to be y over x. Opposite over adjacent. So the most important thing now is to be able to identify the angles of your cast diagram. Let's say now you want to identify an angle that is here, which is 90 degrees minus theta. So the angle that lie here is 90 degrees minus theta. So let me draw it clearly for you to see here aside. You have something like this, and this is your theta here, in which here it's y and here it's x. So the angle that lie here is going to be 90 degrees minus theta. So here it's 90 degrees and 0 here, according to your cast diagram. So now the most important thing here is to identify the trig ratios of 90 degrees minus theta. So you know that because your base here is x, it means that here it's also x, right? This line and this line, they are parallel, making that x, and this one here of y is also parallel to this one, right? Making this y. Okay, so now we want to identify a trig ratio with respect to sine of 90 degrees minus theta. Remember, your sine of theta is what? Opposite over hypotenuse, which is, in this case, opposite is y. Remember, here it's going to be r. Opposite is y over, what's your hypotenuse? It's r. With respect to this theta here, we're doing with respect to theta. And then for cos of theta, it's what? It's adjacent over hypotenuse, which in this case is going to be x over hypotenuse, right? Which is r. And then your tan, it's going to be what? Opposite over adjacent, right? Opposite over adjacent. What's your opposite? Y. What's your adjacent? X. So looking at this now, looking at this angle, sine of 90 minus theta. We have sine of 90 minus theta now. Sine 90 degrees minus theta equals to, so if we check here, this 90 degrees minus theta, the opposite of this angle is what? Is x, right? So you're going to say x, and then the adjacent, remember that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So what is the hypotenuse part of this? It's r. So your sine of 90 degrees minus theta will be x over r. But remember here, your x over r is what? Is cos of theta. So it means now your final answer here will be equals to cos theta, right? And then we go for cos of 90 degrees minus theta equals to, so if you check here, this is your cos of 90 degrees, right? What's your adjacent angle? Your adjacent side is this one, y, right? So it's going to be equals to y over, what's the hypotenuse? R. And then you go back to your simple stuff here. What's y over r? It's sine theta. So it means that this one will be what? Equals to sine theta. Can you see what something that's interesting here? If you check very clearly, you have sine of 90 degrees minus theta will give you cos of theta. So there's a change of these three ratios. They are reciprocating each other. So if you have cos of 90 degrees minus theta, the answer will be sine of theta. See? And then now, lastly, we have tan of 90 degrees minus theta. So this one, I would like us to break it down. So how do you break tan down? You break it down into sine of 90 degrees minus theta all over cos of 90 degrees minus theta. So this is tan, right? Tan of theta is equal to sine of theta over cos theta. So it's the same thing. So now let's go to the answer of sine of 90 degrees minus theta. Remember, sine of 90 degrees minus theta gave us cos of theta. So which means that we have cos of theta here all over. So this one is cos of 90 degrees minus theta. So cos, this one, cos of 90 degrees minus theta gave us what? Sine of theta. So this is going to be sine of theta. So it's cos of theta over sine of theta. So in this case, in math, this is cot of theta. You learn about this later on, but it is cot of theta. So now we're done for 90 degrees minus theta, which lies in the first quadrant. We're going to continue with 180 degrees minus theta.